Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we spoke with producer Smitti Boi discussing balancing being in the military and producing early on, working with his inspirations and influences like Drumma Boy, and overcoming depression through meditation and therapy. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and today I'm sitting down with producer Smitti Boi. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming by. And I was telling you, it's not often that we have people reach out to us, but you reached out to me via Instagram, and I started looking over your credits and just like your story, your journey, and I thought it was super unique, and we needed to have you sit down.
Definitely.
Definitely young in the sense of how many years, I guess, you seriously started pursuing music full time, but you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. I've been doing it for over probably 16 years now. Making beats is for over 16 years, yeah. So how did you get started? What was the first, when did the music bug really hit you or bite you? I'm going to say probably around 2002, 2003. I think they had the MTV music generator, and I found out about that, got curious about it, started messing with that. And then I had a friend introduce me to FL Studio. And then once I caught on to that, man, it just kind of just went from there. And then my first investment into equipment was a drum machine called DR202 drum machine. Mm-hmm. And I had that hooked up to a Casio keyboard. And I would just try to make 3-6 Mafia type beats. Why 3-6 Mafia type beats? I don't know. I think that's around the time I really kind of got into music more. That was around the time T.I. kind of came out, and I'm from Augusta, so Pastor Troy was real heavy, and Drumma Boy, which is one of my inspirations as well. And I think the sound, it just was something I just wanted to recreate, but on my own, and that's kind of just was the foundation of everything. Dope. So growing up, were you into music? Were you heavily reading credits and into who produced this? Yeah, definitely. That was, I felt like that was the golden age. You can open up a CD book and go in there and find out who's producing what and what samples was used, and then again try to go back and recreate those just to figure out your own style and stuff. So yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely, yeah.
Dope. So what was it like growing up in Augusta? Well, you weren't born in Augusta.
Nah, I wasn't born in Augusta. So I was born in New York, and then I moved to South Carolina actually when I was 5. Oh wow. Walterboro, South Carolina actually.
Why'd you move to South Carolina from New York?
I don't know. I was 5, so my mom, they just relocated to South Carolina, and then I ended up going to New York for a year, and then I came back to Augusta. Well, and then I went to Augusta. So I just claim Augusta because that was
where you spent most of your time.
Yeah. So,
and what was going on in Augusta?
It was a little music. Like I said, they had Pastor Troy. Right. Because he was from there. It was another guy. His name was Miracle. I don't know if you remember that song. It was a song called Bounce. I don't know. It was some...
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe if I hear it.
Yeah.
So Augusta's up the street.
Yeah. But it was mostly Pastor Troy. That was the wave back then. Yeah.
Right. Dope. All right, so, you ended up actually taking music seriously after a stint in the military. Right. So... you went straight from high school to the military, or did you go to college? What was your journey beyond choosing to pursue? Because you had already been doing production prior to going to the military. Yeah?
Right. Yeah. So I didn't graduate actually. I wasn't a great student. I think most creators aren't great students. And my mom gave me an ultimatum. It was hey, either you're gonna get out the house or you're gonna go to this place called U Challenge, and it was in Savannah, Georgia. It's a military kind of boot camp, and I went there, and then right after that, the war started because the September 11th happened. And then I ended up going in the military and kind of just forgetting about music because life happened too as well. So it was just I got to make some money, and I didn't really...
What do you mean life happened?
Well, I ended up having kids and stuff like that. So it was just man, everything was kind of coming fast, and I needed money and a foundation. And I just didn't really know... I didn't even know music was a real career, a producing. So I still didn't even know that. And I'm going in the military, and... It was a guy in the military who rapped. He was from Guam, and I remember going to his room. We stayed in a dorm room, and went to his room, and he was had the FL Studio pulled up, and that was my reintroduction back into music. And from there, it was just like, that was it. And I just started continue creating from there, and then kind of just, went from there.
It doesn't seem too coincidental to me.
Nah, it's not a coincidence. Yeah. So it reintroduced me back into music, man, and now I'm here. Yeah.
What was the guy? Does the guy still rap?
I don't even know where he's at now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
at that point, you started doing both. Like, you were still in the military, but you started like picking back up on the production side.
Yeah.
But why production? Like, of all things surrounding music, did you ever have any inkling to be an aspiring artist or an executive? Like, why did you go the production route? I guess what you're exposed to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I fell in love with, that part of music. And over time, like when I was growing up, I wanted to be a sports agent, actually.
Oh, wow.
So, I think that's one of the things that, because I mean, music business is a business. So, I make sure even now, like, to educate myself on, a lot of the business aspects, because I still can actually be a manager or an agent or something like that as well. But I think the music is just what I fell in love with. Yeah.
So, I mean, you've worked with the likes of, and we'll get into some of these people that you've worked with, but like CeeLo, Dave East, Nick Grant, Styley, Currency, all who definitely have like a certain type of sound that they're typically drawn to. So it makes sense to your roster or your discography. But I'm curious to know, like, your style of production. If somebody had to, or somewhere were to ask you, i.e. me right now, how would you describe your sound in like 3 words?
I would actually say I don't have a sound. I can I can do anything. It's just more of what the artist picked. You know what I'm saying?
But, so you consider like yourself more versatile, so you have like a variety of things.
I have R&B stuff, I have reggae stuff, I have...
But I still feel like usually in production, and from what I've heard, there's like, you have something that you're more drawn to in terms of what you're inspired by.
Well, definitely. I mean, I'm going to have to go with the soulful beats. Like, you can never go wrong with soulful beats. Soulful beats. I got beats from probably 5 years ago that I still play for artists and it still go crazy.
Right.
Because it's just that soulfulness. I would consider myself, I guess, a soulful producer.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it, because even if it's an R&B track or whatever, it's still going to have that soulful feel to it.
So do you do a lot of sampling?
Yeah, I do a lot of sampling. I just love the feel of sampling. I grew up, like, my mom, that's all she played around the house was like a lot of Frankie Beverly and Maze. And I think one of her favorite albums, from what I remember, was like the Snoop album, the first Snoop album, and then you had the Chronic album. And a lot of that stuff had the live instruments and things like that. So that's all I ever really absorbed.
Right. So, absolutely. And you talked about some of your inspirations and influences, i.e. the 3-6, Drumma Boy. Who else would you say you were like drawn to early on when you were even studying production?
Probably, of course, the Neptunes was hot. And like I said, when T.I. came out, DJ Toon. What I'm saying? Yeah. Like the way his brass and his style, like the swag on the drums and everything, that kind of put me towards that.
So talk about eventually getting to SAE in 2016. At that point, were you still in the military?
No, I had just got out.
You just got out?
Yeah, I had just got out.
So what made you make that decision for yourself, like to start, I guess, taking music seriously? Because 2016 was 3 years ago.
Yeah. So 2014 is when I kind of decided, hey, because I was traveling back and forth to Atlanta. I was still in the military getting placements. And I was stationed in North Carolina, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I would travel from North Carolina to Atlanta every weekend. And people didn't even know I was in the military because I still had like a beard. And, I was pretty much like just a normal person because, a lot of military people, they kind of act a little military. Yeah. So I was like a normal person. I was still coming out here traveling, just getting placements. And eventually I was like, man, you know what? I want to do this full time. And I ended up getting out. And I was like, I believe as a producer, a lot of times producers, when they transition from being a hobby to the music business, they don't learn more about the business. It's just like, I just want to create. And I think that's why a lot of people burn out, they quit and stuff like that, because they're like, man, I don't know the business. I'm getting ripped off. And so I wanted to make a point to go to SAE to learn more about the music business and also to learn more about audio engineering, because I feel like as, again, the music business, and as I want to scale my business, I want to know every aspect of the business. I want to know how to be a producer, an engineer, a writer, and I also want to know about the business side of it as well. So that was why I went to SAE, just to learn more about the business.
So, I mean, but in 2014, what was ultimately what made you say, like, I'm going to just do this full time? I don't want to be doing the military. And I'm more of a, I know that the production thing is going to work for me. Because, I mean, it's a big step. I hear or I speak to a lot of producers who do it part time. And then at some point in their life, something happens, or maybe they get a break or something. It's like, okay, I can do this full time. Like, what moment for you was like, nah?
Well, actually, it was a trip to Atlanta.
Okay.
And it was on a weekend, and I met producer M16. We was at the studio called Hot Beats, and I actually had a room, and I had plenty of conversations with him, but I had never met him. And we actually had I had a session booked at Hot Beats, and he had another room, and he ended up coming over to my room, and I played some beats for him. He was like, "Man, what do you do?" And I was like, "Man, I'm in the military." And he was like, "Why?" And I think once he said that, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that was like the confirmation, because he was already in the industry. He already had big placements. And when he said that, it was just like, man, I'm done with this. I'm going to bet on myself and whatever happens from here. Because I feel like if I didn't bet on myself, I would always regret it. And I'm like, God didn't give me this talent for no reason. Why not show the world? And that's just where I'm at now. I want to continue, going and showing people like, hey, man, you can actually do this.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do you think you've grown since graduating from SAE? Like, how did that benefit you? For a lot of people who maybe just kind of taught them or self-taught, you have YouTube, you have the internet where you can learn a lot about this stuff. But people who actually attend an SAE or Full Sail or something, they get some tangible like knowledge to what propelled them. What do you think you took away from that experience?
Like I said, a lot about the business. You know what I'm saying? Because the business, the more knowledge and this is just life, the more knowledge you have, the more powerful you are. And especially with business, because it allows you to negotiate things differently, because now you have the tools, and now you're not, when you get a contract, you're able to at least go through it and be like, okay, I know this is not right.
Right.
I think you need to change this, and also gives you leverage and things of that nature too. So, nice. And as far as even just the audio part, engineering, learning from there, you might be in a session where the engineer might be struggling, and you're able to articulate things a certain way so the engineer can understand as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just added more tools to my tool belt, we just say it like that, to actually build towards my goal.
Right. Do you think that you were able to build any relationships from SAE in terms of like, other producers, engineers, all of that? How is it? Well, networking as a producer, building relationships, I'm sure, extremely important to work with artists or, that we've discussed already, from connecting with the A&Rs. Talk about how you kind of leveraged your network. I mean, obviously, who did you say? M16?
Yeah.
And just some people that I see on your roster, like, I'm wondering how you were able to connect with them and getting into these spaces.
Just relationships, man. Your relationships, what they say, your network is your network, right. Which is real. So just, again, learning how to maneuver and bring value to people, you know, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of people reach out and it's just like, hey, man, can you send this beats to such and such? And it should be, hey, how can we work together? How can I bring you value? And then go from there. And that's how I started. It was just like, what can I do for you?
So how were you early on, like, connecting with people? Was it like you reaching out on social, you meeting them in person? Like, what would you suggest to a producer or an inspiring producer or artist that's trying to connect with people like you, or like, you know what I mean?
Right. I would just say be everywhere, especially if you want to come up, be everywhere. You should be at every event. Even for me, I was traveling from Texas. Oklahoma. I was stationed in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was driving from Oklahoma to Atlanta just to network.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. And in networking on social media, Twitter was big at the time with a lot of artists looking for beats and stuff like that, and just reaching out. The traveling back and forth sounds like such a sacrifice of time. I mean, you had a family, a family, having to also try to maintain. That sounds like how beneficial, or like, looking in hindsight, do you think that sacrificing that temporary time helped you to where you are now? Like, definitely, it helped, because even the baby steps is still progress.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, just going back and keep going back, people remember you. Eventually people remember me from my glasses and the beard and the bald head, or I have a hat on, and it got to a point where I had to stop wearing the hat because people wouldn't even know who I was if I had a hat on. But my point is, if you continue going to these events and continue showing your face, people are going to recognize you, and then people are going to come up to you like, man, I seen you at the last event. and then it's, hey man, come with me to the studio tonight. And now you're in the room with all of these people, and you just continue,
building upon it that way. Yeah. So talk about your first break. I don't know what that first break was for you. I was thinking it was Nick Grant's placement, but I don't know if that was like considered a break. But I know that you have like a roster of artists. So I'm wondering like what that one moment was. It was like, okay, shit, I can do this for real.
I would say 2013. Again, I was on Twitter, and I was making beats. And one day I got on Twitter, I was like, man, I think I can really get some placements. And I went on there, did the hashtag who need beats or something like that. And this guy came up. His name is Crutch. And he used to go by Frankie Crutches. And if you remember the Dipset video back in the day, he was a guy on the crutches with one leg doing the Crip Walk or whatever. So I reached out to him, and I was like, yo, man, I got these beats. I want to send them to you. He was like, send them. I sent them. They wasn't mixed because I was mixing in like radio monitor speakers. And I remember him reaching back out like, hey, man, can you send me the track outs? And I had always heard, hey, never send track outs. So I ended up hitting M16 on Twitter like, yo, man, I got the situation. I want to send these beats over, but he wanted the track outs. I heard you never do it. And was like, look, scared money don't make money. Go ahead and do it and just see what happened. And I ended up doing it. The next day, he sent the record back, and it was Cassidy.
Wow.
And so that was, Cassidy was going crazy back then. So it was just like, man, this is dope for a first placement. And that gave me more like confirmation to be like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Facts. Yeah. Absolutely. That's dope. So you linked with Nick Grant for your first album placement.
Yeah.
Yes. How did that come about? How did you two link together? I think, like I said before, when I looked at your roster of like artists you work with, like the whole soulful thing made sense. Sampling made sense. Right. Those particular artists are very into that sound.
Soul sound, yeah.
Yeah, like it makes you feel something. It makes you feel a little bit more connected to the music. So
right.
It didn't surprise me that would be your first album placement. But how did that come about?
It was a beat that I made. My guy, Carbon 15, he introduced me to Lil C, producer. He did the shoulder lean beat and a bunch of, crazy other stuff. And I sent him some stuff, and he actually played the stuff for Nick. And we ended up collaborating on that together, and it became what it was.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I like that song. What would you say to an aspiring producer? I mean, because it sounds like you do a lot of like sending things out, connecting on Twitter, just wherever you can connect with people. That's what you're doing. What's your typical day to day? Like, what does that look like for you at this point? I know your schedule is pretty strict regimen. We were talking about it. You get like 4 to 6 hours rest.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, like, what does your day look like? Are you still constantly reaching out via social platforms? Are you kind of leveraging the relationships you already built with? Are you connected to the A&Rs? Like, how does that work?
Everything you just said.
All of it.
All of it. Yeah.
Still.
Why not? If it's not broke,
don't fix it.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep doing it.
So getting paid, this is now your full time.
Yeah.
How does that feel to not have to like do anything else? So you could just focus.
It's a blessing. This is what I asked for, So I'm okay with this. If nothing else ever happens, I'm okay with that. As long as I can wake up every day and make music for the rest of my life, I'd be okay with that.
How do you go about ensuring that you get paid as a producer?
Again, just knowing the business and being able to leverage certain things. If you can't get paid, then if you know the business, you can negotiate things like getting a verse for yourself so you can put out the music on your own. You can, that's why it's important as a producer to build your fan base as much as you can, because you can put out your own music. So if it's like, hey, you know what, you don't have to pay me for this one. Let me get a verse. And when I get this verse, make sure you post it so I can actually, have traffic, and just learning how to like negotiate certain things. So, because everything is, for me, it's not always about money. Everybody's journey is different. Some people's like, man, I got to have my advance. I got to have this. And sometimes for me, I see like the further pitch, and it's like, you know what, I'd rather not get no money and just get whatever I can off the back end and just build this relationship. But that's, every situation is different. So yeah, you can't just really say it for every situation, because every business deal is totally different. Yeah.
But I mean, specifically, how do you ensure you get paid? Like, do you have a team of people? Do you have a manager?
Yeah,
do you have an attorney?
Yeah, definitely have an attorney. And she's on it. So anytime I need anything, I can reach out to her, and she take care of all that. So my thing, for the most part, I try to stay to the creative side and let her kind of be that person in between.
But you don't have a manager?
No, I don't have a manager.
You don't think it's necessary?
I don't think so. Yeah. I feel like a manager, for a lot of people, producers, they think managers get them placements, and managers are more, to me, manage your day-to-day life, and I'm pretty good with that. So I don't really need the help with that. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so speak to what does your day look like? I know I kind of already asked that, but like, what do you do? You wake up, you.
Yeah, I'm usually up at like 5:36. I'm up, and from 5 to 9 is self-care, and I believe in self-care and getting your mindset right for the day.
What self-care look like to you?
Meditating, reading. I love to read, and just take time for yourself. You know what I'm saying? In between that time, like there's no phone. My phone notifications are off, and then like 9 o'clock on is just kind of prioritize what I want to do throughout the day. I don't plan it like, 9 here. It's just
right.
I kind of time block everything. Like I'm gonna create here, and then this time I'm gonna do this or whatever. So because things pop up, somebody might hit me up like, hey man, can you come to the studio later? And then it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But my day starts at usually 5, between 5 and 6.
That's crazy.
Ends at like 12. So yeah, it's not enough hours in the day.
It's not.
Yeah, it ain't.
Ooh, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't even hold you. I'm not up at 5 a.m. But I'm curious to know why people come to Smitti for the beat. Why do they want a beat from Smitti Boi?
I think the soulfulness. I think I do a great job with, I guess you could say, trapping out soulful beats. So no matter what type of artist you are, if you're a hip hop boom bap artist, I got that for you. And if you are a trap artist, but you're like, man, I want the soulful feel, I can give you a soulful feel with trapped out drums, and it's still just a soulful. And I have done that on plenty records where it's just like, artists, every artist that probably rapped on some of my production has spoke about real shit. Like, that's just what it is. And the soulful beats bring that out of them. And you talked about that earlier. Like, it just gives them that feel to want to talk about something real.
Yeah,
because it's real in the music. It's real instrumentation, and
So, do you play instruments, or you?
No, I don't play anything.
You don't play anything?
I don't even know how to play anything. I just know how to put stuff together.
Okay.
That's just, that's.
So, do you get like live instrumentation a lot of times?
Yeah. A lot of times I do. I'd rather find someone who's great at what they do. So if you're a bass player and you're great at playing bass, then you do that.
But I mean, I think that's kind of what a producer is supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Bring people together, collaborate. Yeah. If you don't know how to do something, you have somebody else. That's I think the point to that too.
I mean, that's what they did back in the day.
Right. Yeah. I wish we would do more of that.
Yeah. People. Some people is kind of stubborn. It's still like, I just want to make this whole beat by myself. And for me, it's always the bigger picture. It's like I'd rather have a way bigger picture and have some other people come in and play some things and put some ideas down and then take pieces away from there.
Absolutely. Who have you enjoyed working with the most? Like, I mean, obviously you're not always in the studio with people, but who's like a memorable person you've worked with and you're like, this is like something for sure I can see myself doing for the rest of my life? As
far as a producer or just
anybody?
I would
Producers, artists.
I probably would say CeeLo. Like when I was in the studio with him, I was on a high for like 3 days. Like I couldn't sleep or nothing.
What did y'all work on together?
We was working on, was working on a joint album with an artist named Tone Trump from Philly. And Tone came to Atlanta and called me to the studio to actually meet CeeLo. And
so you already knew him?
Yeah, I already knew Tone. Yeah, I knew Tone. I knew Tone since he was signed to Jeezy with CTE. So we already had like a relationship. And then he came to Atlanta and was like, yo, I'm working with CeeLo, pull up. And man, just the way he stack vocals and the way it comes so easy, man. I was up for like 2 days. Like after that, I was just like, man, I couldn't believe I was in the studio with like CeeLo Green, and I built a relationship with CeeLo to the point where he was calling me, and it was just like, yo, CeeLo Green calling me. And,
that's so fire.
But yeah, it was dope, man, just to learn like his techniques and things of that nature as well. And again, I added that to my tool belt, so I was able to go in the studio with artists and kind of direct certain things as well. So
absolutely, I love that. And CeeLo is, we know,
yeah, it's a legend. Yeah,
legend. I saw too, I was reading, because I was curious about you working with Stolly in general, because like I think he's like a dope artist.
Yeah, he's dope.
Kind of underrated for sure.
Definitely. Underappreciated.
Underappreciated.
Yeah.
You were an A&R chief for Blue Collie label?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Like, how did that come about?
So my engineer, Amon Jackson, had a relationship with Stally, and I wanted to work with Stally for so long. And he connected the dots, went to the studio, and Stally was like really messing with the music. And he was just, we talked it out, and he was like, man, come over and see if you can kind of just help me with some projects. I got some artists on the roster, and you could just, help them with the production and things of that. And that was pretty much what it was. Like I just went over there, helped them with some beats and connecting them with some more producers and help with the sound. And that was it. That was my job. It was pretty Pretty simple.
How long were you doing that?
Probably like 6 months. It was quick. Yeah, it was like 6 months. I did that, and then I had to get back to my production and stuff like that. So,
that's dope.
Yeah.
That was a good experience.
Yeah. It helped a lot, man. You know, traveling and just seeing how he moved, and again, adding more tools to my tool belt as well. So it was just like, it was a great experience.
Would you say that being flexible is important, with what you do in terms of like, I mean, you kind of already touched on it in terms of your schedule. Like somebody might ask you to pull up to the studio, having that flexibility to be able to do that. Do you think it's important for, aspiring producers to somewhat figure that out in their schedules? Because I mean, obviously, you the same way. You were in the military. You had other things going on before just saying, "I'm gonna just full force go into it." Right. Or would you suggest to an aspiring producer to just bet on themselves?
Yeah, just bet on yourself. Yeah, just bet on yourself. Like, why not? You know, you only get one life. This is it. You get one at bat. I'd rather see what I can do on my own terms. So.
Absolutely. And then just to go back to like sacrificing, I'm curious to know like, what did you learn through the times where it ain't been ponies and rainbows,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, definitely. I'm sure there were some struggles.
Yeah, definitely.
What kept you, or like what motivated you to get over those hurdles and like understand, in the long run, these sacrifices are going to make sense in those moments? Like, take your mind back to the time that you were actually struggling. Like, what were you thinking to move forward?
I think moving forward, I would say, because I got through those struggles, so I know I can kind of get through anything. Because it's been plenty of times, and I'm pretty sure you can attest to this, where it's like, man, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And now we're here. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, I know I can continue going. As long as I'm waking up every single day, I know I can continue going forward. And I think the scariest thing to me, like, and I'm not a fearful person, but the scariest thing to me is quitting. You know what I'm saying? That unknown. You ever talk to like older people and they're like, man, I wish I would have. When I was younger, I said I would never say those words.
I wish I would have.
Yeah, it's you only get one life. So, I want to make sure I capitalize on that and continue going,
Yeah.
So, roadblocks come up, storms come up. You just got to keep pushing through and find out, instead of looking at things so negative, it's just like, what is the positive in the situation, and put a positive out? Because
absolutely,
we all have unforeseen circumstances. Things come up, things happen every single day, but you just have to keep pushing through.
Absolutely. To some people may look like you are a young producer in terms of, really pursuing this full time. Right. But like you said, you've been doing it for about 16 years. Yeah. Has there ever been moments of like trying to gain that like respect or like to be revered in a space where people have been doing this for many, many years, like who, you look to like the Drumma Boys or the Zaytovens or whoever who've been doing it for a while. Was it difficult for you to kind of insert yourself in that fabric, or it just kind of naturally?
It kind of naturally happened. Yeah, I didn't force anything. I just built natural relationships. I didn't, and it kind of just became what I just kept working. Let's just say that I just kept working and going through the process, and eventually it just landed me in certain rooms and panels and things like that. So sometimes I had to look back and be like, dang, like when I first met Drumma Boy, it was on, I think, my first panel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So,
what panel was that?
It was an iStandard panel, yeah.
The one that inspired you to go
to SAE.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We was at SAE. They had me on the panel, and they was like, yeah, Drumma Boy is coming through. And it was another producer out at the time. Well, they said Drumma. They didn't say Drumma Boy. They like, Drumma's coming through. And I think it was another producer at the time. His name was Drumma. So I was like, oh, okay, that's probably him. And then Drumma Boy actually walked in, and then he sat like right next to me, and it was just like, oh shit, I can't believe like, somebody I looked up to and got into music is sitting right next to me. So that was like the first time that I actually, even met him. But it, like, again, it was just organic. It was nothing crazy. Now I have a relationship with him as well.
That's dope. So how do you imagine the next few years for you going, for your career, like your business, working with other people? Do you have any like a bucket list that you want to accomplish?
Right now I'm at a place where I'm just creating, and I want to build my own artists. I think that's what makes a lot of other producers legendary to me, like Dr. Dre and they in Timberland with Missy and stuff like that. So I really want to concentrate more on just finding an artist and building with that artist. And I think that's what I want to do for my journey. And at the same time, I want to get placements and things like that. But for now, I really want to concentrate on my own artists. There's nothing more beautiful than building something from the ground up.
Absolutely, like developing.
Yeah.
And I think producers make for like the best A&Rs. That's why I was curious about you being an A&R chief for the Blue Collar label.
Right.
Blue Collar Gang label.
Right, Blue Collar Gang.
It's so many words. But like, I mean, what do you think the A&R process even looks like? I had this conversation yesterday, but what do you think that A&R process looks like in 2019? Because obviously, you know, with labels and A&Rs today, they are not necessarily looking to develop the artist the way you're speaking of it.
Right.
They're kind of expecting them to come with a full
they want everything done.
They want the social media already there. Yeah. They want
to hand it to them on a platter.
And then be like, okay, here's your deal.
Yeah.
So for you talking about like really developing and like working with the artist, I'm curious as to what you think that looks like in 2019 versus like what it looked like when people really were developing like Lil Face days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna ever go back to like
that.
Or A&R. I think producers are like the A&Rs now, honestly. Like, they're the A&Rs. Like, we're finding the music, we're finding the artists, and we're developing the artists, you know. And I think it's going to continue going that route. You know, and you got some, like I said, some A&Rs, I don't want to say they're lazy, but it's just like they want that whole package handed to them. So hopefully maybe it will go back. I don't know. But for now, I feel like producers are the new A&Rs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about the production process, like producing, the creative process for you? What do you enjoy most?
I feel like it's a puzzle. I think that's what I enjoy about it. Like, it's how can I put these pieces together to make something so beautiful? I think that's the thing that excites me, and then the after product, and then once the artist get it, and then he does his thing, and if God's willing, he'll send me the record back, and then I can go back and do post production on it. You know, those are the things that excite me. You know, and keeps me passionate about wanting to do music, and then you put it out and then the fans react and then it's like, oh man, this is amazing and it made a person feel this way or whatever. So those are the things that keep me going. Those are the things that keep me creating and keep me inspired as well. So
yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, because you've been in Atlanta for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you travel here and there when you can. Do you feel like you're inspired still by your environment, or like you have to like see things, or what type of atmosphere do you need to be in to really like create?
I like being at home. I like being comfortable. Yeah, I want to be able to take my breaks when I feel like it. Like if I want to chill and go play 2K for a while, I can go do that. If I want to go out, whatever, I can just have the freedom to do that. So I like creating at home. That's my place.
So you have like a studio?
Yeah, I have my home studio, my home setup or whatever. And, if I want to do some additional production or connect with some players or writers, then I just go to the studio and make that happen.
So how are you balancing having a family and, this like pretty much 24/7 job of being a producer / like entrepreneur? Right.
It's difficult because sometimes you get caught up in what you're doing and then you neglect other people, and it's like they're like, hey man, what's up? And you're just like, hey, I'm working. And so again, you just have to try to find a balance, and like I was saying, just time block and do the things that's most important first, and then kind of just go from there.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can really ever find because like I said, it's unforeseen circumstances come up, so it's kind of hard to actually balance everything. It's always kind of
right.
Yeah. So.
It's like a juggle.
Yeah. So.
Where did the name Smitti Boi come from?
Smitty, that's what people call me because my last name is Smith. So when I was in the military, everybody just called me Smitty. They shortened that up. And the boy came from actually Drumma Boy. Again, he was inspiration to me, and I was like, man, let me just add the boy to it to pay homage to him. Yeah. So,
that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. And does he know that? Like, did he have
I actually, he didn't know until maybe like last month. I posted it on my Instagram story and tagged him in it or whatever. And I was saying that's how the name, came about. Yeah.
Yeah. How often do you, I know you said you utilize social media to like connect with people and stuff like that, but how beneficial has like Instagram or Twitter really been in terms of like a social media presence? Because now producers are coming to the forefront as like whereas you didn't really know what the producer looked like or who that was. Now it's like you're the artist and you have to like promote yourself. And is that a difficult thing for you? Have you been like embracing that part of social media? I
just embraced it. Recently, like this week, embraced it because I'm not introverted. Like I'm cool talking in person like this, like because it's natural.
Yeah.
But it's awkward to me to get on camera and just speak. You know. But I realize how important it is for your personal brand, and that people want to see that you're human, you know. And it's cool with just posting music and posting beats, but people want to see you talk. They want to know that, okay, you go through things too. And so last week, that's one of the things I did. I actually posted a video of me speaking on, you know, me coming out of like depression and things like that. And I was kind of hesitant to even put that out. And I was just like, you know what, I'm going to jump off this cliff and see what happened. And people related to it. And I was like, man, this is, so actually it does help, you know. And
it does make you more human.
Yeah,
it makes people feel connected to you.
Right.
It's a little interesting. I like talking about social media because I find it to be extremely weird, but also really beneficial to your business and your brand.
Yep.
But speaking of mental health, because I did see that, like, speak to, just understanding, I don't know specifically what you're dealing with, but like, how do you rely on music to kind of get you through those things? Or is music kind of the cause, or like the business the cause of going through like mental health issues?
Well, for me, I was in the military for 10 years and I deployed twice. I did a 15-month tour and a 13-month tour, and it put a lot of strain on my personal life with my kids, the relationship that I had with them. And when I got out the military, I kind of just went straight into the music. And then, you going full head into that, it was just like, man, this is a lot. And then again, like how you were saying, how are you balancing this? It was like I really wasn't balancing because I was just focused on what I was trying to do. So I was neglecting people. And then living up to other people's expectations, and then social media is just like, man, it became overwhelming. And I was just like, whoa, I'm going to feel like I'm about to burn out and just crash. So I had to kind of go back and figure out why I started doing music and just reverse engineer, and again, self-care. And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm a time block and things like that, and then start doing things more for me. And eventually in therapy, that was one of the things I decided to do was therapy, which was very helpful as well. So that gave me the tools, because a lot of people think that therapy is something that like heals you. And we will never be healed. We all have traumas. Therapy is more of a Band-Aid. It gives you the tools to get over these things and things like that. So, I started going to therapy once a week, twice a week.
How I'm just curious.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to say, I'm going to go to therapy? Like, knowing that you had an issue that needed to be addressed. How long did it take you? Because I have conversations with Black men all the time, Black men specifically, about mental health and addressing those things. And it's usually very difficult for them to say, you know what, I do need to go and actually get like therapy.
Right.
Versus like, I'm going to just handle it. I'm going to pray about it. I'm gonna talk to you about it. You know what I mean? Like, I always become like the person that you have that conversation with, but I'm also not. I didn't go to school for this. And you have you might have a personal relationship with me as your friend, so it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But how long did it take you to say, you know what, I'm gonna actually?
Not long at all. Nah. Because I was even in the military. Like I said, I was deploying and stuff like that too. So I had things going on. So I had to take myself to therapy then. And but so when it was just to a point where I just didn't want to crash, I mean, I want to continue bettering myself and becoming the person that I want to meet. So I was just like, let me go get the help that I need and the guidance and the tools.
I just think it's very mature. I think it's very, it's rare and not unusual, but it shouldn't be like an abnormal thing. Right.
No, it shouldn't be. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. I think a lot of people think like, oh, if I go to therapy, they're going to tell everything. It's like, no, they're not going to tell everything. And you don't just go to any therapist either. Like, let me put that out there. You don't just, I'm going to go to a therapist. Like, you have to pick the right one. You know what I'm saying? I got fortunate enough, like, the first person I picked was great. And I was just like, man, this is amazing. I'm going to just roll with this. And then you build that relationship, and then you become comfortable. But you don't just find a person and just run to it. It's just, you have to shop for one, kind of like.
And so, like, the meditation and, like, the self-care part of your mornings, that's helped you.
Yeah, definitely.
Tremendously.
Yeah, and definitely reading.
And reading.
Yeah, reading.
What do you read? What's the last thing that you read?
Last thing I read, I want to say 3 Magic Words. It talks about the subconscious mind. There's some other ones too. I can't think off the top of my head right now. But yeah.
3 Magic Words.
3 Magic Words. Yeah, 3 Magic Words is a great book.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It talks about the subconscious mind and the words that you speak and how the universe don't know the difference, and how we haven't tapped into our subconscious mind, and things like that. Like, because some people, they bring things onto themselves, even like sicknesses. People will be like, man, I'm sick. And it's like, man, you always sick because you saying that, it's a
what is it, like a hypochondriac?
Yeah.
Where they speak that. Your words are very powerful, the power of the tongue. So what sort of things do you speak over your life, or affirmations that you use for yourself, like to propel you forward even?
Just don't be hard on myself, and that I'm not perfect, and it was crazy. It took me 34 years to realize that you can't change anything. We're not changing. You can't control everything. And it's crazy it took that long. You can't go backwards. Like we can't do nothing. We can't even take this last minute back. All thing we can do is now, and we can't do anything for the future. And I think if people understand that more, we'll be more solution-oriented as humans, and I think a lot of times people get in disagreements and it's like, man, well, remember back then you did this, instead of saying, well, you know what, this is where we're at now. How can we fix this moving forward? And those are the things, meditation and reading, stuff like that has helped me understand. And that goes back to self-care, because now you're not stressed out about certain things and you kind of just living in the moment, so.
Yeah, it's a sense of peace and like serenity when you are able to kind of like calm your mind, especially with like this industry. Yeah. It's so damn busy. It's a 24/7 job. I mean, like listen, I feel you. I had to learn this.
I tell people, man, hey, mute your social media. Like, mute your page. Follow people who's going to give you that energy, not take it away. I don't want to see a bunch of fight videos on my timeline. I don't want to see a bunch of negative memes on my time. I need it's so much stuff going on in the world. I need positive energy all the time, because I still have my own stuff to deal with. So,
right.
You control your mindset.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So,
facts. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. That was good. I wasn't expecting to go there, but I'm happy we did.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you could just give any like last or like any advice to someone who is in your position, they're like, dang, I'm working this part-time or I'm working this other full-time thing, but I'm still trying to pursue music.
Right.
Or, just think about yourself 15 years ago.
Right,
to that person, what would you tell them?
I would say you can change the plan, but never the goal. And especially as a producer, it's not a rush. Like, we can be 80, 90 years old making beats. It's no rush. Like, enjoy your journey. Don't worry about plaques and all the stuff that you can't take with you, and continue to inspire people by living your journey. And I guess what Nipsey said, the highest act is to inspire. And I think most people they look at everybody else, and it's just important to stay in your lane, do what you're doing, and eventually you will get there. And understand the stuff that you're going through is part of your journey. And instead of feeling so bad about it and beating yourself down, you have to look at it as, hey, this is a part of the process of where I'm trying to go. And you learn from those things, and eventually you'll get there. But it's always going to be humps. Like, no matter, you can have $1 million, you can be a billionaire, you're still going to have problems.
Absolutely.
It's not going to matter.
People think that the problems just go away magically.
Man. That's why it's important to hit the bottom. So you can know what it feels like, and then start appreciating the small things, like just eating, being able to eat, because some people can't eat. Some people can't walk. So you want to make sure you appreciate those things. That's why you go through those tough times. And a lot of people don't appreciate the tough times, and then they in the same spot because they're not getting a lesson out of it. So the universe is not blessing them to take them to that next level. You got to appreciate the blessing to get to the next level.
Absolutely. So. I couldn't agree more. Smitty, what is the goal for you? Like, you talk about how the plan can change, but like the goal still remains. What's the goal for you ultimately?
The goal for me is just to inspire at this point. I'm not worrying about anything as far as plaques or, like, if I get some of that stuff, that's fine with me. Like, even being in the military, I had awards and things like that, and it means nothing now.
Yeah.
But more people are more inspired from me now in the military, from me living my journey and betting on myself. And it inspired a lot of other people to bet on themselves, even going through like weight loss. I was a bigger guy. I was like 270 pounds when I got out, from just being depressed like that. And now I'm like 205.
That's what's up.
So again, it's about inspiring people and, and legacy for me. When I leave, I want people to remember me as not just a producer, but as a human being who inspired them to follow their dreams and not quit on themselves and fight depression and things like that. So it's just a bigger overall picture for me.
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that. And I commend you for, pulling yourself out of that. I know that's a difficult thing to do, pulling yourself out of the depression, pulling yourself forward and continuing to strive towards your journey.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So speaking of social media, we got to let them know where they can
definitely
find you, where they can get in touch with you.
You can get me on Instagram or Twitter at The Real Smitti. That's TheRealSmitti.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
No problem.
And as always, you guys can find this podcast at IDM Podcast on all social media platforms, as well as myself at Sammy Approved. Thank you. Peace. Sonic.